Okay, linear programming. So this is a company has a vehicle parking of area of 1,200 meters squared with space for X cars and Y trucks. So we know X represents the number of cars. So X could be any value. It could have 10 cars, 15 cars. X could take this value. And Y represents the number of trucks. Okay, so it says each car requires 20 meters squared of space and each truck requires 100 meters squared of space. Show that X plus 5Y is less than or equal to 60. So whenever they say show that, you've got to use the information that they've given you to form this inequality somehow. And they say, or the bit of hinting or information that we can use, is that the whole parking area is 1,200 meters for both X and Y trucks. Okay, so we're going to think very carefully, is if we wanted to represent how many meters squared of space each car takes up, or a number of cars takes up, let's keep in mind this. Let's say the first car, if you have one car takes up 20 meters squared. 2 cars takes up 40 meters squared. 3 cars will take up 60 meters squared. So what you're doing is you're just taking the number of cars and we're just multiplying it by how much space each car takes up. So an equation that we can form is if we have X number of cars, we just multiply it by 20. So if we have 3 cars, 20 times 3 is 60, so 3 cars take up 60 meters squared. Okay, so hopefully you understand that's how this principle works. So the same for the trucks. Each truck takes up 100 meters squared. So if we want to know how much space our number of trucks take up, we just take 100 and multiply it by the number of trucks we have, which is Y. Okay, which is unknown. If we take these values and we add them together, that will represent the total space which is being taken up by both the cars and the trucks. And we know that the space that the cars and the trucks are allowed to take up is 1,200 meters. Okay, at most. So the total must be less than, because we can have few cars, we might have 1 car and 1 truck at a time. We're still given that much area, but we might not use it all up. Or we can have it equal to 1,200. Okay, so that is our first inequality. But what we've got to do is we've got to show that X plus 5Y is less than or equal to 60. So if we divide this all by 20, so that the value in front of the X becomes a 1, it will be 20 divided by 20 is X, 100 divided by 20 is 5, 1,200 divided by 20 is 60. So 1 second, guys. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that is our inequality. So we've shown that. They will give us a mark. So just keep in mind that the total area that each of the vehicles, or all the vehicles could take up, they said was 1,200 meters squared, or it can be less than that. Okay, but it can't be more, because that's how much space they've given. Okay, so there must also be space for 40, at least 40 vehicles. Okay, so vehicles, in other words cars and trucks. So at least 40. So if you add the cars and the trucks together, that will give us a number of vehicles in the space. Okay, so X plus Y will give us the total number of trucks and cars, or the total number of vehicles, must be greater than or equal to 40. Keyword being at least 40. So if someone said to you, bring at least 10 cars to a party, you will bring basically 10 cars or more. You won't bring anything less than 10. Okay, at least 40. At least 2 trucks. So Y represents the number of trucks. So the number of trucks must be at least equal to 2 or greater than 2. Okay, so those are our inequalities. So X plus Y must be greater than or equal to 40, or Y must be greater than or equal to 2. So now we've got to plot these points on this graph. So we just got to imagine that these are equal signs, and we're going to plot these graphs. So the first graph that we're going to do is y is equal to 2. This one. So y is equal to 2 is just a straight line horizontally going across, and y is equal to 2. And the next one is x plus y is greater equal to 40. So if we want to find out what the y-intercept is, x plus y greater equal to 40. So we're going to make this an equation. X plus y is equal to 40. When x is 0, what is y? Y plus 0 is equal to 40. Y is equal to 40. So when x is 0, this is this line. Y is 40. That's the first point, or the y-intercept. And what is basically our x-intercept? In other words, when y is 0, it's going to be x plus 0 is equal to 40. X is equal to 40. So that's going to be here. So joining these 2 points, because all you need to draw a straight line is to have 2 points. There we go. And now we shade the unwanted regions, okay, which do not satisfy our inequality. So the first one, which is the easiest, is y is greater than or equal to 2. So all we need to do is take points on this graph, either above or below this line, substitute into this inequality, and if it makes it true, that is the wanted region. If it's untrue, then it's the unwanted region. So if we take the point 0, 0, which is below this line, substitute in here, when x is 0, y is 0, well, there's only y, so we're just going to put the 0 in its place. So 0 is greater than or equal to 2. That is not true. So all the values below this line are unwanted values, or values which do not make the inequality true. Next line, let's say x plus y is greater than or equal to 40, which is this line going over here. Let's take the point 0, 0, which is below that line. So when x is 0, y is 0, plus 0, greater than or equal to 40. 0 is not greater than or equal to 40. So everything below this line is unwanted. Okay, so everything below it. So I'm going to compute this so it's coming out too clearly. There we go. And the last line, which is x plus 5y is less than or equal to 60. Let's take the same points. 0, 0 is a point below this line. So when x is 0, when y is 0, is 60 greater than it. 0 plus 5 times 0 is 0, which is less than or equal to 60. This is true. So everything below this line is wanted. So we're going to shade everything above it. So our region R is this region. So use your graph now to find the largest possible number of tracks that basically satisfy our inequalities. So this region R is basically the only region which satisfies all 3 of these inequalities, or basically our story. So y represents the number of trucks, x represents the number of cars. So the highest value for y in this region is at this point, which is, I think it's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5. The company charges $5 for each car and $10 for each truck, basically to park in the area. So find the number of cars and number of trucks which give the company the greatest income. Calculate this income. So income is going to be equal to, if each car costs $5 to park in this area, and we have X number of cars, the total amount we receive for charging the cars will be 5 times x, and the total amount we receive from charging the trucks is 10 times the number of trucks, which is y. So this is the income. So all we need to do now is whenever they say the greatest possible or the lowest possible, the solution for this type of question is going to be either basically one of the points which are on the vertex of the region that you shaded as true. So vertex, in other words the corners of our triangle, or the vertices, are basically the values which will give us a solution to this problem. So it's always the case in linear programming. So take these coordinates, put them into this equation, and the one that gives you the highest value for income is basically the number of cars and trucks which give you the greatest possible income. So let's take this first coordinate. Let's see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 35 and 5. So 35 and 5 is the first vertex, and basically this point over here is going to be 38 and 2. 38 and 2. And the last vertex is 50 and 2. So let's have a look for this coordinate, 35 and 5. The income is going to be equal to 5 times 35 plus 10 times 5, which this over here is going to be 175 plus 50 is equal to 225. Okay, just double check that on your calculator. I might not have got that correct, but that's for the first coordinate. For the second coordinate, 38 and 2, it's going to be 5 times 38 plus 10 times 2 will be the income. So 5 times 38, that's going to be 190 plus 20 is equal to 210, and the last one's going to be 50 and 2. So income, 5 times 50 plus 10 times 2 is equal to 250 plus 20, which is equal to 270. So the highest possible value or income is 270, and that occurs when you have 50 cars and 2 trucks. Cool. That is linear programming. I hope that was alright. Please let me know if you have any other questions. Thanks.